The time is 5 o'clock. We'll get the Environmental Service Committee meeting for Thursday, May 1st, 2025 underway. Just a reminder that the meeting will be streamed live and recorded for public viewing on the town's YouTube page. The time is 5 o'clock. We'll get the Environmental Service Committee meeting for Thursday, May 1st, 2025 underway. Just a reminder that the meeting will be streamed live and recorded. Good. We're still live? All right. I'll remind the committee to declare pecuniary interest if one arises at that time. We have nothing under delegations, so I'll move to section 4. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wolvette, seconded by Committee Member Rapel, that the minutes be adopted by the Plympton-Wyoming Environmental Services Committee, and that those confidential minutes of the closed session of the committee remain confidential and restricted from public disclosure in accordance with the exemptions provided in the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. And that was the meeting minutes for April 3rd, 2025. Were there any questions or concerns about those minutes from the committee? I'm seeing nothing, so I'll call for a vote. All in favor? That's carried. Member business arising. So I'll move on to accounts. I have a motion moved by Committee Member Rapel, seconded by Councillor Wolvette, that the accounts as listed be received by the Plympton-Wyoming Environmental Services Committee. We've got the water list for March, the sewer list for March, and the environmental list for March. I'll open up that to the committee for questions. Anything on my right? My left?
No, I don't have anything. No.
I had some, but I can't find it right now. Sorry, I did have them, but I lost it. Going to the sewer ones, Mr. Chair, the Hermosa. Those professional services that's been down there, is that normal? Like we've used that organization before.
Yep, through the chair. So these are charges by Aramosa for the Wyoming SCADA and MCC upgrade project. And you see so many of them because their contract was separated into subcategories. So contract administration, integration, commissioning. So that's why you're seeing multiple invoices there. But it's all for the one project, which is the Wyoming wastewater treatment plant.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Silva. My last question is listed under environmental Nova products, recycle bins. Yeah, those are the ones that we bought that go to residents?
Correct.
Okay. That's all I have.
Wolvette?
Just one question here. It's up on the water. Service called to check poor water pressure at 622 Ketter Way. What would have been the result of low water pressure?
Yeah, through the chair, I can answer that question. This has a kind of a long history. We were dealing with a resident on Ketter Way who had put in multiple calls regarding low water pressure. We walked them through kind of the typical things. Jacobs responded on site, checked the static pressure. Everything was very normal. They continued to have an issue. Finally, they reached out to Mayor Atkinson and sent him a video. And the video showed a bathtub that was filling extremely slowly, like much slower than you would ever anticipate for something, even if you were only running with 50 pounds of pressure. The mayor and I talked about it, and we thought it would be a good idea to have Plympton Plumbing investigate before we start digging up at the road to see if there was anything wrong there. So that is a result of that investigation, and the person had a whole home filtration system, which was completely plugging everything up. So they bypassed the filtration system, and then the problems went away.
So it was their own problem.
It was.
Okay. So then would they be accountable for this bill?
We could send them this bill. We did this as a gesture of goodwill. After the mayor and I discussed it, we thought it would be best to send a professional in to have a look, and we had investigated on our side. So we didn't intend to send a bill, but we can.
Okay, that's fair enough. Thanks.
Any other questions? We'll call for the vote. All in favor? That's carried. Move to staff reports. We've got 3 staff reports tonight. We'll bring the first one to the table. I have a motion moved by Councilor Wolvette, seconded by Committee Member DeVlue. That the report by Christopher Deluse, Jacobs lead operator, dated April 11th, 2025, regarding the Plympton-Wyoming, April 2nd, third rain event be discussed in a session of council or environmental services, and that staff direct Jacobs based on the outcome of those discussions. So I think for this one, we'll be turning it over, Christopher.
Sure. So through the chair to the committee, based on the discussions at the last environmental service meeting, I did put together a report for the rain event that occurred on April 3rd. Just highlighting some of the issues that we encountered as operations across a number of the pump stations and the wastewater treatment plants. So I did attach some of the data that we see, just to visualize these pump stations going into high level and the longevity of the high level events. Just to give you guys more of a visual. I mean, if I come in and I say the pump station went into high level, some people may or may not understand that situation. So at least we've got that actual trending of that level to the best of the equipment's capability currently. When the level transducers do become submerged underwater, they don't read. That's just based on the model of transducers that we do have. The data from the Wyoming system, we do have that smart cover at the end of the laneway, which is a pressure transducer as well. So when that transducer becomes submerged, we still get a actual level of the system. But obviously we experienced a lot of rain. Some areas were hit a lot harder than others. And particularly the Plympton side of things, you know, I've been in the area for 4 years, and that is the most flow that I've ever seen. Just based on the amount of flow that we sent through the plant, added with the amount of flow that overflowed at pump station 2. That is by far the most flow that I've seen. Which just reiterates the fact that we do need to go through and identify deficiencies in our collection system and start getting some of those fixed. Raising manholes, sealing manholes, doing our part for the public. You know, just if we can maintain the lower level of infiltration, we may experience less and less high level events, hopefully. Obviously, we have been doing that through our I&I program currently with our CCTV inspections and repairs that have been completed, but I think it's at a point now that we need to start ramping up a little more, tackling some of those bigger issues first and then trickle down into, you know, private side of things, some pump connections, etc. And if there's any questions, I'm more than happy to answer any.
Thank you. So we had a chance that was posted in the agenda. Was there any questions for Jacob's crew?
Well, first of all, thanks for the report. It's a good report, and certainly your bar charts are showing obviously a major problem, because sanitary sewage system obviously should be a closed system. And obviously your charts are showing very clearly that something is major is getting into that system during these rainfalls. So I guess, I guess I'm going to have to be the first to admit, or not the first, but certainly admit that we certainly need to take a very serious look at what's getting in here. If that means sump pumps or whatever it means, and then I guess that's what we have to do, because it's certainly showing up here in this report. And probably that's a fairly easy fix because, you know, you can have a look at them and do your smoke testing or whatever you're gonna do to find out, so. And it seems like, I don't know what's going on here in the world, but it never seems to rain, it pours. I mean, today was another example, out at our place, I mean, it poured and it poured and it poured. And it, like I said, it seems to be the trend now. It's not just a rain, so it's big events. So good report. I think it's a great start in kind of identifying what we're gonna have to do here fairly quickly. That's all I had.
Yeah, through the chair, if I can add some additional context in their conclusion, there's a few recommendations there that Jacobs have made. I just want to bring the committee's attention that the smart cover was already planned to be installed in that area and will be installed in that area very soon. So because of what Chris was saying, those transducers that are in the pump stations, once they get submerged, you don't get any information anymore. The smart cover is going to allow us to have that information.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have a lot to add. I think what we have in front of us is very informative, and I think from what I'm hearing is that we're taking the proactive approach to this. We have to move forward, and also too, as Councilor Wolvetta said, the rains today and every day, we have to prepare for the worst. And anything you can do to try to keep us ahead of it, I think that's very important that we do that. So kudos to Jacobs and the crew for work they're doing.
Yeah, I would just, the report shows the importance of the I&I investigation. I suppose that's the cheapest, most effective way to deal with the flow issues that we've been having. So, no, good report.
Yeah, good report, and it definitely shows that we need to get proactive on getting it corrected.
I guess my question, how big of a project are we talking fiscally and financially for the raising all the manholes that we're looking at? There seems to be a lot of them.
So through you, that information is going to come to light as soon as we start investigating every single manhole. And we do have a priority area that we want to tackle first, and that's along Lakeshore Road. So a lot of those have the rain bladders in them. We want to either raise them up or we want to seal them. So that's the first step. In terms of how much that's going to cost, it really just depends on how many manholes we find that need attention. But I would expect initially probably $25,000 to $30,000.
So for this motion right now, it's discussing at a session of council or committee, which we did. Are we just, since there's no added expenses, we already have it covered in the budget? Or are we just proceeding staff directed as the motion?
Can I ask a couple of questions, Alex?
Mr. Damon, yes, we can ask.
For the committee. So in that rain, first off, I used to know how many pump stations were in the Plympton area. Can you tell me how many pump stations we have at this point in time?
Currently, there is 14 active pump stations that are under the responsibility of Jacobs. Plus one additional that.
Just in the Plympton area. Yeah, Monkey Plympton area. Okay. And so in this last rain event, how many of those stations involved the second pump coming on?
Pretty well every single one.
And how many of those stations involved high level alarm being hit?
I believe the count was five pump stations that went into high level.
In the high level. And so with the transducers, what would be the average footage from normal running level of one pump to the transducer?
Anywhere from 12 to 20 feet.
So we're running, just an informational thing, so we're running. Once the high level alarm, and you're telling me that the transducers were overrun on how many of the pump stations?
On 5 of the pump
Only
stations.
5 of the pump stations. So the transducers are not the problem. It's a problem because we don't have any further information to what actual level come up above the transducer. But in my experience, if the level comes onto the second pump and we hit the high level, we're in a dire emergency situation. And that should never happen my past experience and my working experience. Because there should be no difference from day one to day two, to day three, to a year down the road in the flows in any of these pump stations. The normal sewage pump station, in my opinion, it runs in the morning. You may have, at a peak period of time, you may have the second pump come on for an interim period of time, is the way it should run. And then the alternator should alternate back and forth. Regardless of what the weatherman's doing or what God's doing, you should never have a change in flow. That graph on each pump station should be the same right through every week. Maybe on Saturday and Sunday it may change right there. So absolutely, I haven't seen a report, and anything that we can do with Jacobs to ensure that we're eliminating infiltration into our system. That should be our first priority here as a council and municipality, because it's twofold. We're not only jeopardizing and liability issues with the municipality and personal property, but the amount of energy that we're using, we're not being environmentally proactive as a municipality, hydro. And the hydro costs that we're incurring, because if you have an overrun pump station, those pumps run like the one in Kanlaki did across the road for 24 hours to bring that down to a level. That's a lot of hydro bills that we're in excess of. So we can spend, the council, in my opinion, can take and offset that cost of hydro by expending that cost into doing productive repairs, to lifting the catch basins on the county road across from my property. One ring of 2 feet would eliminate that. Very cheap to do with Cantons down the road can supply that ring in a couple hours of manpower. Very simple fix. The catch basins in the road on Egremont, I checked them personally all myself. They don't have any bladders or rain catchers in them. Now, I'm not sure if we put bladders in those road catch basins, is there any issue with sewer gas and releases, or how does that work?
So generally, when I'm choosing to put those rain covers in manholes, I'm looking for low-lying areas that are susceptible to flooding. But I'm also looking not to completely seal off a collection system, because I do want those gases to escape where they're not being pushed into people's homes or in excess at the pump station. Just to avoid hazardous conditions. So we are being strategic with those placements. Obviously, I usually try to drive around once we do get a rain, even if I'm not working, just to try and identify additional areas that I should be installing them.
Back in 1995, when the sewers were put in, we all received for new councilors here and maybe new Jacob staff, when we did that engineering report and the sewers were approved, we all received a document. I don't know if that's still available or on file here at the municipality. And it strictly stated the law, what was needed to be done to connect your folks from the septic system to the sewer system, and the consequences if you hooked your sump pump into that. So my understanding, I could be wrong, but the plumbing inspector from the county has a right to enter any home with notice, along with the Jacobs person, to physically walk in there within 5 minutes. I could walk into any residence in Plympton Township with the plumbing inspector, and I could tell you immediately whether they have their sump pump in the basement attached to the sanitary sewer, as these two gentlemen could probably do too. So now eavesdrops are a different situation. Some people have done outside. If there's underground stuff that's attached to the sewer we don't know about, then that's going to be more difficult for our staff to find that out. But we need to be really diligent, and we should eliminate that because it's a cost savings for the municipality, for everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for David. And yeah, and I will say, I think the next one, I think we talked about that a bit too. Jacobs has been strong advocates for that, and our staff. So I think we're gonna get to that. A little bit more information because there is a bylaw that's been amended for the sump pump disconnections. For this, so we'll get to that next report. So for this one, we'll just get this one taken care of, which was again, to basically accept the report from and to just let staff direct Jacobs on the outcomes. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So that leads us to this 7.2, which is the inflow and infiltration reduction program. So I'll bring that motion forward. Moved by committee member DeVlut, seconded by Councilor Wolvette, that the report by Paul De Silva, Director of Public Works, dated April 25th, 2025, regarding inflow and infiltration reduction program be received, endorsed, and forwarded to council. So again, we did see that report in advance in there, and again, this does talk about the smoke testing, the CCTV, sump pump. And I'm going to start with Paul if you want to talk a little bit more about it.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. We just had a really good discussion on most of these items. But what we've done here is we've kind of laid out a roadmap. This is not something that we just started working on after April 3rd. This is something we've been working on a while. We have been doing CCTV inspections. We CCTV'd the entire hamlet of Kamalaki last year. We did find problems. We did fix those problems, the things that we could see. So this takes it kind of on another level. We start looking at manhole inspections, especially the ones in low-lying areas. We start looking at smoke testing. We start looking at once the town is confident that the problem is not coming on the public side, then we start looking at how can we deal with the issues on the private side. And we've laid out a roadmap for doing that as well. Like the chair just said, council just recently amended the bylaw to allow the town and our contractors to do those private in-home inspections because that wasn't permitted in the previous bylaw. We have that now. We want to start a vigorous public education campaign because we don't want to just show up on people's doors and let them know that we're coming in. We want them to take a proactive approach. We want to send out literature and educate them on why this is such a serious issue and how it's costing every taxpayer money, hydro, flooding, everything, insurance. So we think we came up with a really solid plan here. There's financial incentives that are going to be provided to residents, either through putting backwater valves on their sanitary sewer systems to protect themselves or to disconnect their sump pumps. So it's not meant to be a punitive program whatsoever. We are going to be monitoring over time. We will be providing regular progress reports to this committee and to council. And looking for endorsement today so that we can start working on some of these really important tasks.
Any questions from the committee? I'll start my right this time. Any questions over here?
No, I think it's good that we're gonna get going on it and I fully support it.
Yep. Second that. Well left.
Yeah, as I said a few minutes ago, we don't have any choice here but to move forward as soon as possible on this. We have been dealing with this for a long time. This isn't anything new here. I know going back into my own neighborhood, every time I'd go up in my backyard, there's an easement that goes down to the lake and the sewer system, the sanitary sewer system is there. And every spring for, depending how much snow runoff for days and weeks, the 1-inch holes in the top of them sewer covers, you could just see the swirl going down into the sanitary sewer system. And I complained about it several times, and they did end up coming out and putting a ladder in there to stop that. And that's only one that I knew of, and I know there was others that were done at the time you guys did them. So, it is a problem. But listening there, I guess you can't seal all the lids up because that's meant to be a vent. I didn't really realize that, to be honest with you. But I guess if they're low and you got spacers, you can raise them up, and there's lots of places where that water goes right down in different spaces are underwater for days. So so the sooner we move ahead, the better. Communication, I gotta tell you, communication is a big thing. And going back, Mr. Damon talked about, you can go into any home anytime you want. But that's not the way that we need to approach this. We need to communicate, we need to talk to people, we need to get it on our website and tell people what's going on. I mean, especially people that have been flooded out, my goodness, they probably can't even get insurance. Some of them now, they've been flooded so many times. So, yeah, we need to get on with it. And there was areas, and I've mentioned this before, out our way, where what I've heard from those neighborhoods that because there is no storm sewer systems put in at the time, they were allowed to put their sump pumps into the sewer system. And as I've also mentioned before, basements, like my own basement, the overflow, if the sump pump overflows, it goes down into a catch basin, into a floor drain, it goes to the sanitary sewer systems. That's just the way, there's no storm sewer systems out there. So you got to be careful with that and go back and look at some of this grandfathering stuff and approach people with, with respect, say. So there is lots of areas that are different and have had different agreements and different bylaws. So we need to get on with this and get her done.
Counselor?
I have nothing to say, and that's been said on this topic.
Yeah, and I agree. I think this approach is great. I mean, it explains the important part. It'll identify areas and you know what, some people might not even realize there's some pumps connected to the wrong place. So I think it's a good job. So thanks to the staff. So I'll call for the vote on that motion. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Yeah, third report, 7.3. I have a motion moved by Councilor Wolvette, seconded by Committee Member DeVlue. That the report by Paul De Silva, Director of Public Works, dated April 25th, 2025, regarding the Huron Crest Phase 1 water service replacements be received, and that the tender submitted by St. Clair Mechanical, $214,708.51, met HST, be endorsed and forwarded to council for approval. Anyone want to add to that, or just want to open up?
Just open up for questions.
Okay. Any questions from my left?
Any idea just how many places we have to dig up to replace these copper lines?
Through the chair, it's about 60.
About 60?
60, yep.
Now, the other concern, well, it's not really a concern, but these water lines could go under driveways, asphalt driveways, concrete driveways, flower gardens, flower beds. Like, I haven't had a look out there just to see, but have you actually, is it a big deal? Like,
Through the chair, we have accounted for that in the contract. There are a few. It's not everyone. It's most of them are in grass boulevards, so should be relatively routine to replace, but there are a few concrete driveways that we're gonna have to unfortunately repair.
can you directly drill?
Yes, we can.
Directional drilling?
Yeah, so all of the long services, so where the water main is on the opposite side of the street as the house, all of those services will be directionally drilled.
Okay, because that's quite a few houses, so, yeah, okay. That's all I have.
Mr. Rear? Call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Moving under bylaws, so I'll move to item 9.1. I have a motion moved by Committee Member DeVlute, seconded by Committee Member Rapel, that the minutes from the laws meeting be received for Thursday, March 6th, 2025. Are there any questions from the committee on that? Your wheels are turning, or are you good?
No, I'm thinking, but no, I'll just save that question for another time.
All in favor? Nothing under correspondence action required. So I'll go to 11.1. A motion moved by Committee Member Rapel, committee seconded by Committee Member DeVlute, that the correspondence related to recommended reading and routine approval and information items not otherwise addressed by resolution be noted as received by the Plympton-Wyoming Environmental Services Committee and filed accordingly. That's the monthly report for February and the monthly report for March. Are there any questions for Jacobs on those? Seeing nothing to my left. Am I right? Okay, all in favor? That's carried. Move on to new business related to environmental. Any new business from the committee?
None for me. Thank you.
I have nothing, Mr. Chair.
I have one question, for the meter reading. Are staff able to drive through now to get those meter readings, or are they still going door to door? It looked like they were going door to door. I saw. It might not have been our staff though.
Yeah, that's a good question. So we're able to drive for all the ones that have been fitted with the transmitter. Now, we did have our staff go door to door just to hand deliver notices to the people that haven't switched over yet. So that's probably what you were seeing.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Alright. Any new business from staff?
Nothing for me.
Jacobs? So I'll move to 13. I have a motion moved by committee member DeVlute, seconded by committee member Rapel, that the Plympton-Wyoming Environmental Services Committee regular meeting be adjourned until the next regular meeting to be held June 5th, 2025 at 5 p.m. There. It's carried. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, staff and Jacobs, for those reports.